Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm bringing you a review for the new Marvel Legends Bonebreaker Build-A-Figure wave, Havok. Havok, as we know, is the brother of Scott Summers, Cyclops, and this figure represents him in what I believe is his most recent outfit. That's like your post-House of X, Krakoa, a real futuristic type outfit here, which is quite different from how he used to look. And it also sports these brand new, really cool energy effects that you can see all, behind him here. So, very interesting figure and a really nice addition to this X-Men wave. That being said, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Havok's packaging, then we'll open it up. We're going to quick look at his Build-A-Figure piece, and then we'll really break down Havok himself. We'll check out his posability, we'll check out his accessories. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts. So Havok comes in your standard Marvel Legends packaging. You get your Bonebreaker call up here, X-Men symbol on top, and then your 90s X-Men logo right here on the bottom, name underneath. Then we can see Havok in our big window, while windows still last. Here are the aforementioned energy effects, and then we get this little, what looks like an oil drum that attaches to the back of Bonebreaker. On the side, we get some nice artwork of Havok, yelling and letting out his, whole energy pulse thing. And then on the back, we get a fuller shot of that artwork, looking very, very cool. We get his name, and then we get some flavor text here. And that reads, Alex Summers, aka Havok, fires superheated plasma from his hands to devastating effect. A veteran hero and leader, he longs to step out of his older brother Cyclops' shadow. Now it's interesting because I think in the X-Men movies, the Fox movies, Havok was Scott's older brother. And I guess that's reversed from the comics. That's something, that I kind of, forgot over time. Okay, down here, we get a render of Bonebreaker, as well as our cross-sells for the wave. So we get Wolverine, Siren, Havok here, and we get Vulcan, Maggot, Darwin, and Seibertron. So I have yet to review Wolverine, Vulcan, and Maggot. I have Vulcan and Maggot currently as I'm reviewing this, and, they'll be next, most likely. And I'm still waiting on Wolverine to show up, but he should be shipping from Pulse here very soon. All right, so that's the packaging. Very, very nice. I love having artwork on the packaging instead of just like product renders. It just makes it that much more exciting and, kind of increases the comic book prestige of it all. And now we get our figure out of the packaging. So first, let's look at our oil drums here. And they're very nicely detailed. They have this really nice metallic sheen to them. They look really, really gorgeous. Honestly, I'd say maybe they're almost too shiny since Bonebreaker's supposed to look kind of roughed up and dirty. These have a very high-end quality to them. You can see like the little holes right here at the top. You got a lot of dents and bullet holes and stuff. They do look to be the same piece, which is kind of unfortunate, but I don't know, I guess it works. Then you get these kind of mounting holes to actually attach it to Bonebreaker's tank treads. And they're simple pieces, but they are nice. They're very nicely sculpted and painted. And they have some heft to them too, which is always nice. And then we get Havok here. And you can see he's got 3 different energy effects laying around, or plasma effects, whatever you want to call them. And then the Havok figure himself is using an old buck, which is not really my preference, but I will say the tolerances on my copy are spot on. So he's got your ball joint and hinge combo for the head. He's got an ab crunch, which works pretty well. Universal shoulders. He's got his pec flies here, his butterfly joints. Bicep swivel, double bend elbows, universal wrists. Got a full waist swivel, universal hips, thigh swivel, double knee bend, boot swivel, and then your ankle rock and rotation. And every one of these joints feels like spot on. Nothing is loose, nothing is too tight. One of the issues I tend to have with these Legends figures with their double elbow or knees is that usually at least one of the joints in either the elbow or the knee is overly tight and is a real pain to actually manipulate, and you're always kind of worried you're going to break it. I don't have that issue here. Like, there's the perfect amount of resistance on all of them. So I will say, despite the fact that the body type is nothing new, this came out really, really well. So they seem to maybe even be like touching up this old mold a little bit just to keep its life going a little bit longer. Right now to check out the energy effects. So this big one has a little peg in it so you can mount it to the hole in his back. So you give him this cool little background plasma effect, which is cool. And the two smaller ones are going to mount on his wrists, which means you do have to pop the hands off first. Now, one thing I really appreciate with this is that these are both sculpted uniquely. They're not just two of the same like you'd come to expect with some energy effects. They're similar in shape, but they are actually different. So that's something I really appreciate. You know, I wouldn't have really minded too much if they were the same, because I, again, would expect that for rather small effects like this. But I very much appreciate the fact that they're not. That they're each doing their own thing, looking very cool. They don't really want to hold still, do they? Okay. I thought that would mount a little tighter. Interesting. They just kind of sit loosely on his forearms there. Can't say I'm crazy about that. They're just kind of hanging. Well, all right. I guess in a static pose, it doesn't really matter, but am I doing something wrong? Is it me? Because I'm trying to push them back on the forearm, but they won't stay. Try to push them up on the wrist, it won't stay. That's interesting. I thought for sure those would kind of just plug in there firmly like the ones that came with characters like Doctor Strange, but they're just kind of hanging there. If that's the intention, that's kind of lame. They're like bracelets, basically. They're heavy, gaudy bracelets at this point. I'd like them to be tighter so you can actually choose, you know, how they're rotated in position, but as far as I can tell, they just dangle there. I don't know if that was like an unintentional oversight or if that was the plan for them, but I would have preferred if those holes were a bit tighter. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they look nice, but they don't really fit him as well as I'd like. Here's a quick group shot with Havok's teammates from this wave. We get the X-Men Darwin here on the right and Siren on the left. And it's funny because the X-Men's uniforms, you know, usually coordinate a little bit better than this, but you can see there are three very, very different styles of X-Men uniform. We have Siren here with something that looks, you know, the most akin to the classic jumpsuits that the X-Men wear. Then Darwin, his outfit very strongly resembles the stuff we saw in like the Fox live-action movies. And then we get Havok here, who is just sporting an entirely new style. But this figure is representing a time where, you know, it's kind of a postmodern X-Men now. You know, they're all these, dare I say, decadent citizens living on Krakoa, you know, obtaining basically immortality. Yeah, and I think their suits kind of match this, you know, futuristic vibe where they're almost above everyone else now. That's kind of the vibe I get from the new X-Men get-ups. And I feel that Havok's suit right here really evokes that. His suit reminds me of Black Bolt's with this kind of royal bend to it. I think it's very fitting considering the, I guess, the elite status of the X-Men now, right? They no longer have to be afraid. They don't have to be your street-level heroes. They're kind of above it all, for better or for worse. So while he may not look like a traditional X-Man, this is just kind of the modern style. Whereas these two, you know, they're taking styles that are a little more traditional. Darwin not as strongly, but, you know, he still looks very 90s comic book-like. So this new Havok figure really is just of a different time and place. Oh yeah, before we wrap this up, I do want to confirm, I actually went and looked at official pictures of this figure, and it looks like those little wrist-mounted effects there really are just meant to dangle like that. Because every official photo I've seen of this toy, these longer bits here, which are the heaviest, are all hanging on the bottom, which is, you know, what's going to happen if there's not enough friction to hold it up. So I guess that's just what they wanted to do with this. They gave him plasma bracelets, basically. And this completes our look at the new Marvel Legends Havok. I think this is an interesting figure, despite the fact that he uses an old buck, which is barely painted. Like, it's almost all black except for the symbol on his chest. So very, very little budget went into the paint department for this guy. And, you know, it is what it is. I mean, they are replicating his suit, which is pretty much an all black, you know, spandex suit. So what do you do, right? It's accurate. So, you know, where they, you know, kind of lack in a paint budget, they make up for with a very, very cool head sculpt with these nice raised ridges, which are an improvement over the last figure of this particular outfit for Havok. And then he gets these super, super cool plasma effects. And I really like them. I love the big one here, how it plugs into his back to make it look like, the energy is kind of coming from behind him, and, you can rotate this any which way you want to kind of customize it. And the wrist-mounted ones are also very cool. I like the fact that they're not the same piece. They're two individually sculpted pieces, and I think they look pretty incredible. Now, I do still find the way that they're mounted kind of weird, the fact that they just hang there, because that does inhibit customization, right? You can't, rotate them any which way you want. They're always just going to hang like this. So the only bit of customization you get is basically choosing which one goes on which hand and whether you want it flipped forward or backward. That's about it. So, yeah, I don't know why they made that choice. It was obviously intentional, but why? I don't get it. We've seen plenty of wrist-mounted energy effects that you can actually rotate however you desire, and these just aren't that. Don't know why. But aside from that little oddity, I still think this is great. It may not be everybody's cup of tea. You may find Havok's classic outfit a little more interesting because this is very plain from, a color and aesthetic angle. But I still think it's a good figure. Despite the fact that the buck is old, the tolerances on my copy are phenomenal. Everything feels perfect, just the right amount of friction. He stands up very well. You can get some good poses out of him. And I find it to be enjoyable, even if this isn't really the Havok that I remember. So I think if you, do go and pick this guy up, either from, your Target, Amazon, whatever, I think you'll be pretty happy with him. If, for nothing other than to get those cool effect parts that you can use to customize a display and have all sorts of cool battles going on. Of course, that is just how I feel about Havok, so now I want to know what you all think of this toy. Is this something you're interested in picking up? Is he one of those figures from this wave that is a must-have for you, either because you really like the character or you like the way this came out? Or do you not want this guy? Maybe you find him too plain, maybe you just don't like Havok. He's not the most popular X-Man out there. Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comment section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Marvel Legends Bonebreaker Build-A-Figure Wave, Havok. And with all that said, I will see you next time.